In the world of country music, where raw emotion, personal truth, and tradition are deeply valued, there are also untold stories that remain hidden behind the spotlight. Today, we'll take a closer look at a rarely discussed side of fame: artists who carried a private truth they felt unable to express openly. In an industry where expectations and public identity can shape everything, revealing one's authentic self has often felt like a risk too great, with careers hanging in the balance. But over the decades, some artists have chosen to step into the light, moving from silence and hidden emotions to a place of greater openness and self-acceptance. Their journeys reflect not only personal courage, but also the slow evolution of an industry built on tradition. Let's explore this powerful and deeply human story together. If these stories spark your curiosity, don't forget to subscribe, leave a 1 in the comments if you connect with this theme, and like the video to support more meaningful content. In the 1990s, Chely Wright became one of Nashville's brightest rising stars, known for her signature country style, warm presence, and emotional love songs that resonated across the charts. She wasn't only admired for her image, but also for the heartfelt way she brought stories of romance, longing, and hope to life through music. Every performance seemed to reflect a dream of love and belonging. Yet beyond the glitter of the spotlight, Chely carried a private truth, one that remained hidden deep within her world, known only to her for many years. She was not only a celebrated artist, but also a woman quietly wrestling with an invisible burden, always afraid that if her authentic self became known, everything she had worked so hard to create might suddenly fall apart. Chely Wright felt as though she was living two separate realities, one as a beloved country music figure in the public eye, and another as someone carefully guarding a deeply personal part of her identity. During her brightest years, she often had to measure her words, her choices, even her connections, carrying the constant worry that one unguarded moment could threaten the life and career she had spent years building. Deep down, Chely always understood a truth about herself that didn't align with the public expectations placed upon her at the time. For years, she felt pressured to follow a carefully crafted image that the industry considered acceptable, even when it meant hiding an important part of who she was. Then, in 2010, Chely Wright made the life-changing decision to live openly and speak with honesty about her identity. Her announcement became more than a personal milestone. It marked a historic moment in country music, signaling a shift toward greater visibility and authenticity. While her choice sparked intense reactions and resistance from certain corners of the industry, Chely remained steadfast, showing remarkable strength in standing by her truth. She remained steady in the face of resistance, transforming a difficult moment into a powerful step toward living authentically. By choosing openness, Chely helped create space for other artists to feel less alone and more able to live freely as themselves. Her story stands as a lasting reminder of what courage and honesty can achieve. In an industry once shaped by strict expectations and invisible barriers, she chose truth over pretending. And in doing so, she not only affirmed the importance of self-acceptance, but also inspired countless others to embrace their own identities with strength and hope. Chely was more than a country music star. She became a symbol of quiet strength in a world where honesty can sometimes feel like the hardest step. True courage isn't always about dramatic battles, but about learning to accept yourself fully, even when others may not yet understand. Her journey reminds us that truth carries a transformative power, no matter how long the road may be or how many obstacles appear along the way. Living authentically is not just a personal choice, it is a path toward freedom, deeper confidence, and a life lived with real meaning. In 1973, the Seattle-based band Lavender Country made a quiet but groundbreaking mark on music history as one of the first country groups connected to openly gay identity. Their self-titled album, Lavender Country, was raw, honest, and deeply reflective, exploring themes of love, isolation, and the emotional weight of trying to live authentically in a world shaped by rejection and silence. At the time, however, the record received little support beyond LGBTQ+ circles, and mainstream country radio largely turned away from it, showing how unready the industry was for voices that challenged its narrow expectations. The band's unfiltered lyrics, touching on themes like same-sex love and the longing to live openly, placed them outside the boundaries of what the country music world was willing to embrace at the time. To many in the industry, they were treated as an outlier, simply because their stories didn't match the familiar narrative. Patrick Haggerty, the group's lead singer, never tried to reshape himself to fit traditional expectations. Instead, he focused on capturing real experiences, giving voice to emotions and realities that countless people felt, but few had the freedom to express publicly in that era. This fearless approach allowed Lavender Country not only to make history, but also to create a rare and distinctive sound, one that reflected social realities most artists were afraid to address at the time. Although the album received little mainstream support and the band faded from public memory for decades, their work planted an important seed of visibility for LGBTQ+ listeners searching for a place within the genre. Then, in the 2010s, with the rise of the internet and a renewed interest in overlooked cultural history, Lavender Country's music resurfaced, and its groundbreaking significance began to be recognized and appreciated once again. Younger generations of fans began to view Patrick Haggerty as a true pioneer, helping bring Lavender Country back into the spotlight not as outsiders, but as trailblazers who quietly expanded what country music could hold. Their return wasn't about rebellion, but about recognition, a long overdue acknowledgement of stories that deserved space all along. Living authentically is rarely easy, yet it carries lasting value, even when the world isn't ready at first. Often, the earliest steps uncertain, challenging, and misunderstood are the ones that shape the future, opening doors to deeper acceptance in both music and society. Patrick Haggerty and Lavender Country remind us that truth, even when ignored or forgotten, has a way of resurfacing, and eventually, it can be honored and celebrated. Katie Pruitt grew up in a traditional household in Georgia, where faith, community, and long-held values shaped everyday life. From an early age, she was drawn to the storytelling spirit of country music. But as she began to understand her own identity, she faced a profound inner tension. Realizing she was gay created questions she wasn't sure how to reconcile with the beliefs she had been taught. In a setting where acceptance of difference often came slowly, Katie felt caught between two realities: the world of devotion and expectation around her, and the quiet truth she carried within herself. Katie Pruitt's debut album, Expectations, became a defining breakthrough in her career. Rather than hiding who she was, she chose to transform her emotions into music, writing honestly about confusion, guilt, hope, and the long process of self-understanding. The songs on the album feel like more than melodies. They are personal reflections, almost like chapters from a diary, documenting her journey through inner conflict and toward acceptance. Tracks such as Loving Her and Grace Has a Gun capture her search for freedom and self-love, while also revealing the difficult steps it can take to live openly and authentically. These songs are not meant as provocation or confrontation. They are sincere stories that invite listeners into her world with empathy and understanding. Katie's music doesn't lecture or demand agreement. Instead, it creates a quiet space where people can feel the emotions she has carried and the questions she has faced. She is more than a singer, she is a storyteller, offering reflections that encourage others to recognize their own journeys within the music. It is this gentle honesty and emotional truth that has resonated deeply with so many, especially those who know what it means to search for authenticity in a world full of expectations. Honesty and the courage to love yourself even when you feel different is often the first step toward overcoming life's deepest challenges. Stories told from the heart carry a special power. They connect people, soften boundaries, and sometimes shift the world in quiet but meaningful ways. Katie Pruitt's journey reminds us that authenticity is not always easy, but it is always worth it. No matter how many obstacles appear along the way, living truthfully can lead to freedom, peace, and a deeper kind of happiness. Brandy Clark may not have been the loudest or most spotlighted name in country music, but she has long been one of the most deeply respected voices behind the scenes. Raised in a small town in Washington state, Brandy grew up surrounded by the kind of everyday stories that country music is built on. Her love for honest storytelling eventually brought her to Nashville, where she quickly earned recognition as one of the most gifted songwriters of her generation. She has penned hits for artists like Miranda Lambert, Casey Musgraves, and the band Perry, while also carving out her own artistic identity through songs that carry her unmistakable personal touch. Throughout her career as a songwriter, Brandy has captured stories filled with quiet pain, small-town realities, and the complicated rhythms of everyday life. Her work goes far beyond catchy hooks. It feels like honest reflection, shaped by real emotion and lived experience. When she began stepping forward to perform her own music, audiences recognized something rare. She wasn't simply delivering well-written songs, she was offering authenticity. That sincerity created a powerful connection with listeners, and it's exactly why Brandy Clark has become a voice of lasting respect within country music. Brandy is openly gay, yet she has never turned her personal life into a headline or a spectacle. Instead, she has always let her work speak first, keeping the focus on the honesty and depth of her songwriting. Even if there were moments of quiet resistance within parts of the industry, Brandy's reputation has only continued to rise. With multiple Grammy nominations and the deep respect of fellow musicians, she has shown that true artistry is built on talent, dedication, and staying faithful to your craft above all else. Brandy Clark's success comes not only from her remarkable talent, but also from her quiet confidence and steady commitment to who she is. Her journey proves that authenticity and skill often speak louder than hype or spectacle. Sometimes, staying grounded in your values and trusting your own voice creates a kind of success that lasts far longer than any short-term strategy. Brandy has shown that when you create from the heart and live true to your principles, recognition arrives in a deeper, more meaningful way, the kind that endures. Before Brooke Eden fully stepped into her true voice, she was already recognized as one of Nashville's most promising rising talents. With a strong, vibrant vocal style and a sound built for country radio, she seemed destined for a major breakthrough. Yet behind the glow of the spotlight, Brooke carried a quiet part of her life in private, her long-term relationship with a woman. In a city and industry still shaped by tradition and familiar expectations, openness did not always feel safe or simple. Country music had long been associated with certain classic images, and for many artists, making space for personal authenticity required patience, courage, and careful timing. Brooke spent years keeping her relationship private, worried that honesty might put everything she had worked so hard for at risk. But over time, the emotional weight of pretending and holding back such an important part of her life became impossible to ignore. In 2021, she chose openness, sharing her engagement to her longtime partner, Hillary Hoover, who is also part of the country music world. What followed was unexpectedly uplifting. Fans and fellow artists responded with warmth and encouragement. Even parts of the industry that had once seemed hesitant began to show greater support, and her music found new space to be heard and appreciated. Eden's openness wasn't rooted in loud declarations or confrontation, but in the quiet relief of finally being herself. She didn't set out to overturn Nashville's traditions, she simply chose to stop living behind a mask. Her journey mirrors the gradual, meaningful shift happening within country music, a genre that has often moved slowly when it comes to embracing difference. Brooke Eden has become a gentle but powerful voice for authenticity, helping expand the space for many kinds of love and reminding the industry that real country music has always been about honest human stories. Living authentically, no matter how long the journey may take, often leads to a deeper kind of freedom and to connection with people who value sincerity. Truth can feel difficult at first, but it has a quiet strength that can move through barriers over time. When you choose to live in alignment with who you truly are, you don't just find personal peace, you also invite understanding, respect, and genuine support. Real freedom comes from facing yourself with courage and living by your own values. And in that space, even the hardest moments begin to feel lighter, because you realize that love and acceptance are always waiting among those who truly see you. Amethyst Kaya is not a typical country artist, and that is exactly what makes her so unforgettable. By blending country, blues, folk, and the deep roots of Appalachian tradition, she has created a Southern sound that feels both timeless and entirely her own. Born and raised in Tennessee, Amethyst grew up surrounded by gospel harmonies and bluegrass rhythms, yet she often carried the feeling of standing slightly outside the frame. As a Black lesbian woman in a genre that has not always made room for every story, her journey has been shaped by both difference and determination, turning what once felt like isolation into a powerful voice of authenticity. In the face of these pressures, music became Amethyst's way of pushing through every boundary. With a voice that feels both raw and commanding, she began performing at small festivals, slowly drawing attention for the honesty and emotional weight carried in each song. Her work resonated because it didn't chase perfection, it carried truth. The track, Black Myself, recorded with the collective Our Native Daughters, became a defining breakthrough, earning critical acclaim and a Grammy nomination. It also established Amethyst Kaya as one of the most fearless and emotionally powerful voices in the Americana landscape. Amethyst Kaya has spoken openly about moments of isolation and self-doubt, especially while finding her place in a genre still deeply shaped by tradition. Yet, instead of allowing those struggles to define her, she transformed them into art. She poured her truth into songs that wrestle with belonging, longing, loss, and the slow journey toward self-acceptance. Her music refuses to stay inside any narrow frame, and that freedom, the refusal to be limited, is exactly where her greatest strength lives. She has shown that stepping outside familiar expectations doesn't lessen your worth. It can actually reveal your greatest strength. Sometimes, refusing to fit into a predefined mold is exactly what makes someone unforgettable. Walking your own path takes courage, but it also builds resilience. Keep believing in your value, keep honoring who you are, and never lose sight of your authenticity. In the end, it is your uniqueness, the truth you carry, and the voice only you can offer that will give you the power to rise above every challenge life brings. Jessie Dilva may not yet be a widely recognized name, but their voice is steadily emerging as one of the most compelling in today's Americana and country landscape. Grounded in folk and gospel traditions, Jessie's music feels gentle yet deeply resonant, almost like a quiet current pulling listeners into a world of reflection and emotion. Their songs explore themes of faith, family, and identity, touching on experiences that are universal while still told through an intimate, introspective lens. With each melody, Jessie creates a space that feels personal, spiritual, and quietly powerful. Growing up in a deeply religious family, Jessie found early comfort in the church in choir harmonies, piano hymns, and the sense of belonging that faith can bring. But as they began to understand their queer and non-binary identity, that once simple world became more layered and emotionally complex. Trying to balance spiritual roots with personal self-acceptance, especially within a family and community shaped by tradition, created quiet inner tension. In that space, music became more than an art form. It became both refuge and revelation, a place where Jessie could gently explore, reconcile, and bring together the most essential parts of who they are. Their 2023 album, Landscapes, was widely praised for its vulnerability and emotional richness, with each lyric carrying a sense of quiet truth. Critics have drawn comparisons to storytellers like Brandi Carlile and Jason Isbell, highlighting Jesse's ability to blend raw honesty with understated strength. Their music holds both tenderness and resilience at once, creating songs that feel deeply human. What truly sets Jesse apart is that they never seek attention through spectacle or provocation. They simply offer their story with sincerity, building a powerful connection through gentle, captivating melodies that linger long after the song ends. Jesse Dilva doesn't seem driven by a desire to reshape the world or force country music into something new. Instead, they quietly represent the genre's evolving spirit. In a tradition often associated with fixed expectations, Jesse stands as a gentle reminder that country music can grow without losing its soul. Their presence reflects an expanding heart within the genre, one that can hold difference and authenticity while still honoring its roots. Through artists like Jesse, we see how music can become a bridge between life's contradictions, a space where we learn to accept ourselves more fully, to find compassion, and to discover belonging even through struggle. Cameron Hawthorne first drew attention with a classic country sound that paid tribute to legends like George Strait and Vince Gill. Yet what truly made him stand out wasn't only his voice or songwriting, it was the sincerity behind his storytelling. In 2019, Cameron released Dancing in the Living Room, a simple and heartfelt song about love, and the music video quietly challenged one of country music's long-held unspoken boundaries, offering a gentle but meaningful moment of change within the genre. The video portrays couples quietly dancing together in their living rooms, and it concludes with Cameron sharing that same simple moment of tenderness with his boyfriend. In doing so, he revealed an important truth about his life, that he is gay, not through speeches or spectacle, but through something beautifully ordinary. There was no attempt to provoke, only a sincere expression of love within a genre long shaped by traditional portrayals of romance. The moment feels both unexpected and completely natural, and that is exactly what makes it so moving. Authenticity presented with quiet grace. The video quickly gained attention and was widely praised for its quiet authenticity and graceful simplicity. It wasn't framed as protest or confrontation, it felt more like a gentle reminder that real love, in its purest form, doesn't require justification. Cameron embraced his truth with sincerity, and he conveyed it through music in a way that allowed listeners to feel the closeness and emotional honesty behind every note. Since that moment, Hawthorne has continued to build a devoted audience, drawn not only to his sound, but to the genuine heart within his artistry. You don't have to reject tradition in order to live truthfully within it. Sometimes, authenticity doesn't come through grand gestures, but through the smallest, most natural moments of sincerity. In music and in life, quiet honesty can carry enormous power. When you choose to be yourself, you create change without forcing it, simply by existing openly and gently. Simple, genuine actions can leave a lasting impact, shifting perceptions not through confrontation, but through the undeniable strength of truth. Waylon Payne was almost destined for country music from the very beginning. As the son of singer Sammy Smith, known for Help Me Make It Through the Night, and guitarist Jody Payne, who performed alongside Willie Nelson, his childhood was surrounded by honky-tonks, late-night melodies, and the emotional weight that often lives inside country songs. Yet his own path into the genre was anything but simple. It was marked by turbulence, reinvention, and raw humanity. Named after his godfather, Waylon Jennings, Payne seemed to inherit not only the spirit of outlaw country, but also the complexity and struggle that so often comes with it. Early in his career, Waylon showed real promise as both a performer and a songwriter. Yet his life soon became tangled in intense personal battles and difficult chapters that pulled him away from the spotlight. During that period, he also began to confront deeper parts of his identity, adding another layer of complexity to a journey that was never simple to navigate. After years of distance and reflection, Payne returned with striking force through his 2020 album Blue Eyes, The Harlot, The Queer, The Pusher, and Me. The record feels raw and deeply confessional, not polished for perfection, but shaped by truth, almost like an artistic rebirth, a testament to survival and self-reckoning. Critics praised the album's unfiltered authenticity, with many calling it one of the most emotionally powerful country records of the decade. Today, Payne is often seen as one of Nashville's most compelling storytellers, an artist who can merge classic country roots with the hard-earned wisdom of someone who has lived through darkness and found a way back. His music doesn't seek attention through rebellion or spectacle. It speaks through vulnerability, survival, and the quiet courage it takes to begin again. In many ways, Payne's journey reflects the very essence of what country music has always been meant to capture: human struggle, redemption, and the hope that follows. Shelley Fairchild's journey is one shaped by talent, timing, and quiet resilience. She arrived on the Nashville scene in the mid-2000s with her debut album Ride, earning praise for her commanding voice and heartfelt emotional delivery. Yet in an era when appearance was often treated as equally important as artistry, Shelley felt constant pressure to fit a narrow idea of femininity that didn't fully reflect who she was inside. Years later, she shared that she is queer, a truth she had kept private for a long time, not out of shame, but out of concern that openness might complicate her path in an industry still deeply shaped by expectation. When industry pressures and behind-the-scenes complications began to disrupt her momentum, Shelley stepped back from the spotlight, choosing to rebuild her career in a way that felt true to her own spirit. Her return wasn't loud or rushed, it was gradual, thoughtful, and deeply meaningful. In 2017, she released Buffalo, an album rich with introspection, warmth, and soulful honesty. It wasn't created to make a statement or win approval, but to reflect healing, authenticity, and a sense of peace, music made not for spectacle, but for truth. Fairchild has also grown into a quiet mentor and advocate for greater inclusivity in country music, offering support to younger artists who face the same uncertainties she once carried. Today, she isn't focused on chasing chart success, she's building something deeper, a legacy rooted in self-trust, resilience, and honesty. Shelley Fairchild has not only reclaimed her voice, but strengthened it with time and clarity. And in doing so, she has reminded Nashville of something timeless. The most powerful country music has always been the kind that dares to tell the truth. Jamie Wyatt may carry the image of a modern-day outlaw, but her story runs far deeper than leather jackets and tattoos. Her music, grounded in classic country and blues, holds the weight of lived experience, the kind of truth that can't be manufactured. Wyatt's journey began with early promise, landing a record deal as a teenager and gaining attention as one of Los Angeles' most striking young voices. Yet success was never simple, and the road that followed proved that fame often comes with shadows as well as spotlight. Her early life was marked by difficult struggles and personal detours that pulled her far from the smooth path many imagine for a rising artist. She faced seasons of chaos, hard lessons, and even time away from the spotlight, experiences rarely spoken about openly in country music. Yet instead of allowing those chapters to define her end, Jamie transformed them into the foundation of her return. When she came back, she poured everything into songwriting, facing themes of pain, regret, healing, and redemption with unflinching honesty. Her 2020 album Neon Cross, produced by Shooter Jennings, became a turning point, a record that felt both confessional and reborn. Around that time, Jamie also shared her truth publicly, speaking about her identity and the loneliness she once carried, and how finding authenticity became part of her survival. Rather than treating it as a dramatic revelation, she has described it simply as one more truth, another thread in the larger story that has shaped her life and her music. Today, Jamie Wyatt is recognized as one of the most compelling and respected voices in modern country. Her work is raw, emotional, and deeply authentic, never chasing image or spectacle. Instead, her songs search for beauty in the places where life feels fractured, turning hardship into meaning. In a genre built on hard stories and hard-earned wisdom, Jamie stands as a reminder that honesty, above all, remains one of the bravest acts an artist can offer. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Country music has always been rooted in honesty and real emotion. Yet for many artists, living openly has not always been easy. The journeys we explored remind us that courage often begins with simply embracing the truth and choosing authenticity, even when the path is uncertain. What are your thoughts on these stories? Which journey moved you the most? Share your perspective in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fascinating stories ahead. See you next time.